All right, everybody. Good morning. NorCal Sports Network welcomes you to the Morning Game Plan Show. And today, we're going to be talking about the San Francisco Giants organization and the need to get rid of Farhan. And we're going to make a case that we've been making for a couple of years, but it's going to get a little stronger here. I can tell you that. Let me get the band to quiet down here and get a little background. And goodbye, band. We'll bring you back at the end. How's that? All right. Welcome, Los. Welcome. And everybody,
good to be here.
We are here on Monday through Friday. We've been going at 8 o'clock, but we're getting a lot of requests to go a little later. Did a little poll, and the poll said 10 a.m. was so we're going to play around with it, but today we're here at 10. We may keep it at 10. A lot of people didn't like 8. We had 3 choices, 8, 9, and 10, and 10 or 8 o'clock in the morning did not score well with a lot
A
of people.
little too early for some people.
Yeah, a little too early for a lot of people.
It's interfering work a little bit more.
Yeah. But, well, Los, as the thumbnail shows, we talking about the need for the San Francisco Giants to move off of Farhan. Farhan needs to go. And, there's multiple reasons.
Multiple
and,
times multiple.
Yeah. And it's getting to the point where the Giants have become the laughing stock of the Major League Baseball when it comes to the way the organization's being run. And the national media last year, Tom Verducci, this year, Mad Dog Russo. Tom Verducci quoted, said, if this is the future of baseball with all of their platooning and boring baseball, he says, I want no part of it. And we see the game changing with this, the emphasis on more athleticism with two throwovers, or what do they call it, engagements over to first base. And if you step off the rubber, that counts as one. So now you only have one throw over to first base. They're trying to create more steals, and the Giants are terrible at that. They don't have only really 1 or 2 base runners, but that's just a minor part of it. The part of it, Los, that I see is this guy says one thing and then constantly does another, doesn't seem to understand the eye test of baseball. Everything is, hey, look, analytics are fine. They've been around for multiple years, probably hundreds of years since the beginning of baseball. But there is an element that is missing with Farhan, and that is just the eye for talent and picking up raw talent and developing it. And they just platoon everybody. I don't know. Go ahead, take over. I'm gonna come back with a few more thoughts on this. Go ahead.
I mean, it's just a bad look for the organization. I mean, to constantly, he doesn't talk much, but when he does speak, there's no genuine words to what comes out of his mouth, because it changes a week later. You can't say, well, we're trading Soler because, we're going to free up some at-bats. We want to give Luciano a chance. He didn't do well at short, so we see that he has a good bat. We're going to legitimately give him some at-bats now that Soler is leaving. So you give him some at-bats for about 3-5 days, give or take, and then you trade for Mark Canha, another veteran who's probably past his prime, who's probably not going to lead you to the promised land. And again, you're going to block the same guy that you just said you're going to give a shot to. That's just a flat out lie. You got rid of Soler because you wanted to save money. Just be honest. Fan base will be okay if you're just a little bit more straightforward and honest with your words. But when you constantly lie just to save face and look good for 48, 72 hours. And then you go right back to your old basic ways of blocking young guys. It's just a bad look for himself. It's a bad look for the organization as he represents the organization. You don't see Greg Johnson speaking. You don't see Larry Bear speaking. It's always, you don't see Pete Petulli, the invisible man, what I call him, because he doesn't show up for anything. He is the face of the franchise along with Melvin. And to constantly come out with words like this and they not hold true, it's just setting a stage where, and I said this the other night in the chat, not live, but I said, younger players don't want to come here. I mean, they just see what's happening. They don't want to be drafted. They're like telling their agent, God, I hope the Giants don't draft me. If I go there, I really don't want to go there. Free agent hitters don't want to come here because of the platoon system, because of the ballpark, because of the up and down, because I'm hitting second today and fifth tomorrow and eighth the next day. Baseball players like to be routine. They like to know their role. And yeah, some things changes as players do well and others struggle. I get it. But for the most part, baseball players are very, very superstitious. They're very routine oriented. And there's nothing routine about the Giants or Farhan. So this mad helter-skelter musical chairs crap that he's doing is just not good for the organization. And it's just making it a mockery, and it's getting worse and worse as every month goes by.
Yeah, it really is. And like you said, when he speaks, it's embarrassing because it's just like, he has zero confidence. You can see it in the way he presents himself. He doesn't speak with authority. He stumbles, he mumbles, he's like trying to make stuff up on the fly. He doesn't really know exactly what the plan is. What is the plan? I mean, Luciano, he said, we're going to get Marco at bats, and they put him at DH. He goes 3 for 17. Not great, but not like, my gosh, Patrick Bailey was in a 1 for 40 slump or something like that. Do they sit him? No, of course not. They let him work through it. Luciano
Wisely hasn't been hitting that much lately, and he's still up on the team. So
yeah, look, Wisely,
again, the politics of it. Was Wisely drafted by Farhan?
No,
he was not.
He was. Oh wait, was Wisely? Yeah, I think meant Luciano. Yes, Wisely was picked up as a either a free agent or some acquisition.
So we've talked about that as well. If Farhan picks you or drafts you, you get an extremely long leash. And if he doesn't, then you don't, because he wants the credit too much. And organizations, no matter what sport you're playing, the best organizations are the ones that have their front office, their leadership, not caring who gets the credit. Those are the most successful organizations. But when you have egos that demand and want all the credit, it seems like this is the case with Farhan. I need to be able to find a guy. And that's why as soon as he picks up a guy, he plays right away.
Right away. Right
that?
away. He's in the lineup.
As soon as he picks them up, he has a meeting with Melvin.
Hill.
He has a meeting with Melvin behind the scenes and goes, look, I just picked up this guy. I need to have justification that I picked him up and make it look like a good move. You need to play him right away. And Melvin just goes, okay, boss. So, I mean, is that good for the organization long term? No, it's just temporary, fill in gaps. And it's been this way for 6 years. There's no long-term plan. And why would a player want to come here? Whether you're a veteran or whether you're a drafted rookie. Why? It's just a complete mess right now.
Absolutely. I've hammered this home, and I'm going to hammer it home again. Elliot Ramos made the All-Star team this year. He's 24 years old. He was your number 1 draft pick in 2017 out of Puerto Rico. He was touted. He was a top 100 prospect. He struggled a little bit in the minors. Well, are you okay there?
Yeah. Camera fell. Hold on.
Okay. Glad it was just the camera. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to have a called 911 here on the live on the NorCal Sports Network here.
Keep talking.
All right.
I'm here.
All right. Here
I'm alive. I'm alive.
All right. We'll put you back in when you're ready here. Okay. So Lowe's had the camera fell. I think he must have. Okay. He's back. All right. I thought, oh gosh, we got
Comedy.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare anybody. Like, oh man, Los keeled over. Oh,
I was a little worried there for a second.
Los had too much to drink because I celebrated a birthday. Not my birthday, but yeah. No, I'm all right. Sorry, guys. Go ahead. Always entertainment on NorCal Sports Network, even at 10 in the morning.
Yeah. So here's my thing. Elliot Ramos, drafted number 1 by the Giants under the old regime, Bobby Evans. He's, we're waiting for him. He has some good years in the minors, and then he has a little bit of a struggle. But then finally last year, toward the second half, it clicks for him, and he starts smoking the ball, smashing home runs, 108, 110 mile per hour, balls off the bat. They bring him up for a little song and dance, barely play him, send him back down. We don't see him again. Then this year, spring training comes, and who's the first player on the Giants 40 that is sent out of camp down to the minor league camp? Elliot Ramos, like 2 weeks in, before the games even started really getting going. He's not even given an opportunity to make the team. And Mike Yastrzemski, nothing against Yastrzemski, but he's 33 years old. He's going to be 34 within days. The guy is been hitting 210 for the last few years, and he's guaranteed a spot in the lineup. Ramos doesn't even have a shot to compete with him. And then Ramos is an afterthought, complete afterthought, because he signs Jung-Hoo Lee from Korea, and he's got Michael Conforto in left field, Lee in center, and Yaz in right, penciled in, and says they're going to play every day. We're not going to do this platoon this year. They're going to play every day. Then Lee gets hurt, Conforto gets hurt, and Slater gets hurt. And they bring up Ramos by default, and Ramos smashes the ball all over the place, hits 300 the first half, makes the all-star team, leads the team in home runs, leads the team in runs batted in, leads the team in batting average, and we wouldn't have seen none of it had it been up to Farhan if those injuries didn't happen. Because Farhan missed out on the eye test, didn't even see he had a 5-tool player in Elliot Ramos. Elliot Ramos can run, he can hit with power, he's got speed, and he's got a great arm. I mean, why would you not give that man an opportunity? You're not the LA Dodgers. You're not the Yankees. You're not the Orioles. You're not the Astros. You have very little talent throughout the organization. Play your young guys and see what you have. And I just can't believe that this guy.
It just shows how much power Farhan has, because you have some old school baseball men in that organization. You have Bob Melvin, you have Matt Williams, you have Pat Burrell, you have Buster Posey. You have a lot of baseball knowledge, people that have played the game, understood how the game is to be played. They understand about going to spring training and winning jobs based on merit, based on whoever plays best makes the team. Not, I drafted you, I didn't draft you. Just none of this politics that exists so strongly right now. So this is, we're getting on Farhan and we're upset at him, but ownership ultimately is the one that gave him this power. So Greg Johnson and his ownership group have to have a lot of the blame as well. They chose this guy. They chose. And
why do the fans keep showing up to watch this garbage? I don't know. I know they're giving away tickets practically with all these promotions to get people there, but my goodness, the fan base needs to wake up.
I'm gonna prove to you once and for all, to everybody here, what we talk about the casual fans versus the diehard baseball fans. Did you notice the crowd's enthusiasm when Yaz was pitching? Like diehard baseball fans would be like, "What? This is embarrassing." They would walk out. They're like 13-2 game. Our right fielder, our average right fielder, is in to pitch the game. I'm out of here. I got work tomorrow. See ya later. Tomorrow will be another day. Fans stayed and were cheering or getting into the game. You know, almost like it was a gimmick or some kind of a sideshow. And that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt what kind of fans are at Oracle right now.
Oh yeah,
they're not there. They're not there for baseball. They're not. They're there for like a movie or a play. And right now, that movie and that play sucks. Quite frankly, get your money back. Why are you wasting your money to go out there and see that? Because you want to see a show. You don't want to see a baseball game. You don't want to see actual baseball strategy and talent come out. Because if Yaz was thrown in the ninth inning at Candlestick back in the 90s and early 2000s, or I'm sorry, 2000 is when Pac Bell came about. In the 90s, 80s, whenever, that Candlestick crowd, there would be nobody there because they're there for a baseball game. So this proves our point. Casual fans have completely taken over.
I got to get back to the mishap of about 4 or 5 minutes ago, just so when people watch this later on and say, "What happened?" Shell says, "That's scary." Mark Graves says, "Clean your baseboards," and then Shell again, "You scare me to death like that," and then one more, couple more. Comic relief on Thursday, and then Shell says, "Oh my God, Dan killed Los."
Hey, I always say when I come on the show, I always want to bring a little something different to the table, but that was not scripted at all.
That was like Jerry Springer stuff right there, man. No, that was that definitely was not scripted, guys.
No.
So
let me bring up another point, Dan, that maybe I've never said before. Well, maybe not exactly how I'm about to say it, because I really want to get your feedback on it. We always talk about the game being a business. It's gone to be a business. Is it safe to say that since the players have made it such a business with their holdouts and their demands and they're wanting long-term contracts, is it possible? I'm just saying, is it possible that some ownership could say, okay, all you players want to see this as a business? Well, so are we. We don't care about the game anymore. We don't care if you win. We just care about making profits. So maybe the Giants ownership, and maybe there's some other ownerships out there that they're thinking, okay, you players just want money. No matter what you do, if you hit 210, you're going to get 30 million. If you hit 180, you're going to get 30 million. You want to be like that? Okay, then we're not going to make this about winning. We're going to make this about our ownership group making a profit, and that's it. Now, they'll never say this. They'll never, ever say this. But is it possible? Is it possible that that's the mindset of some owners, including our own Giants organization, is that this is just strictly a business completely? There's nothing about baseball that's done. I'm just saying, is it feasible?
We see it in Oakland. I mean, that owner, Fisher, he doesn't care about winning. He's the problem is baseball has revenue sharing. There should be some minimum standards in revenue sharing, in my opinion. And that minimum should be, you got to have a minimum salary base. You can't be paying guys $50 million, your whole team. Some of these teams, 50, 60 million, the whole team, that's the salary. And it doesn't matter. Those guys are still making more money than some of the winning teams because they're getting revenue sharing and the owners pocketing money instead of putting it into the product. To me, Major League Baseball, if you've got a standard, you should have a floor and a ceiling. If you're going to have a salary cap that has some penalties, I mean, they don't have a true cap like the NFL because you just pay luxury tax. You can go over, Like, I mean, look at the Dodgers, Yankees, a couple other teams that in the past, the Padres, but you get over that threshold. To me, you should have a minimum cap too, because it's crazy what they've allowed Major League Baseball. Some of these teams,
Well,
are. I mean, you got a couple of players, on some teams that make more money than the entire organization than a few of the teams in baseball. If you look at the bottom line of their salaries.
yeah, and since this is a getting rid of Farhan campaign, we kind of focus just on the baseball aspect of it, like the team is not winning. But I mean, owners, if by chance you're watching this, okay, if making money is such a big deal to you, then Farhan is losing in that angle and aspect as well. He has spent a lot of money for a 500 baseball team. He has paid, since he's been here, some high salaries for some very average to below average players. So this is to you, ownership. I mean, you hear from the fans just about, oh, get rid of Farhan because the team is not winning aspect. Well, I'm coming at you from a business point of view, from a making money point of view. You could have a salary of 110 million or so and have a lot more money in your pockets right now to win at this rate. But no, what is their salary right now? The team salary, isn't it 240?
It's right there, 215 on the year in 40 man with the CB tax. It's 250.
Okay, so if you're having a board meeting, if the San Francisco Giants are having a board meeting amongst all their ownership, and the meeting consists of just economics, we're not talking about wins or losses. We're not talking about how Robbie Ray sucked last night as part of the best rotation in baseball, allegedly. No, we're going to just talk numbers in this board meeting. So the first guy gets up and he just writes, "This is our salary for this year," and they'll show exactly what Dan has up on the screen. Every other team's salaries that they're paying. Somebody's got to say, why are we paying this much money that's coming out of our pockets for a team that is not even winning? I mean,
Right.
we could be paying like 80 million, 90 million. We could have $140 million more in all of our pockets, which again, back to the business aspect of things, and be with this kind of a winning record or non-winning record, being 500. So what is he doing exactly? How is he spending our money? Again, I'm going to just keep emphasizing this. If this is a business, and you know this because this is your field of work, Dan, if you hire a financial consultant, and let's say that financial consultant is Farhan, and you pay him a fee to make you and invest your money, if he keeps picking bad stock after bad stock after bad stock, and you keep losing money, what are you going to do after a few years? You're going to fire him.
Absolutely.
Right? So
absolutely.
I'm coming at an angle of money now. I'm not talking about wins or losses. Okay. I'm talking finances. I mean, that's what me and Dan do for a living, but it's a reality. It's just another reason to get rid of this guy, not just the wins and losses.
Yeah. Take a look here at the Baltimore Orioles. This is the model that I was suggesting for the Giants right now, which is a rebuild, because they don't have the horses to compete. They don't have the right type of players. You know what? This was the last year and this year were the year to try to develop, because you weren't going to compete with the better teams. And look at the Orioles, because they got a bunch of young guys and they've developed them.
Yep.
They don't have to be paying this. Now that's going to not last. When they got to start paying these guys, they're either going to have to pony up and go over the 200 million mark, or they're going to have to trade certain guys. But this is what the Giants could have done. They could have just played Casey Schmidt at third. They have Fitzgerald at short. They could be using Luciano as a DH or first baseman. They could, whatever they want to do at second base. Your outfield, it really could have been Matos and Ramos. And, you want to go Jung-Hoo Lee, fine. He's young and he's fairly affordable. You're overpaying for him now, but you could have had a salary near the Orioles.
Yep.
But you went out and signed guys that like Blake Snell. I'm for Blake Snell. He's pitching great, but you got to surround that talent with better players. And you had the opportunity to trade Blake Snell at the trade deadline, but you were unwilling. This is what's amazing to me, Los. You're putting out as a team $250 million right there, guys. $250 million. And you didn't want to pay Blake Snell's salary next year if he opted in to get a top 100 prospect for him. No, you're going to ride Blake Snell all the way to fourth place and a below 500 team, and he's going to walk, and you're going to get nothing. And you did the same thing in 22 with Carlos Rodon. You got a compensatory pick, which turned out to be Joe Whitman, who may or may not make it. There's no guarantees, but you could have picked up a top 100 prospect by trading off Carlos Rodon. And he constantly says he's going to do this and do that, and he doesn't do it. He doesn't make moves to make the team better for the current team. Like, look, if you're going to keep Rodon, all right, go surround him with somebody else. Last year at the trade deadline, what did he do? He goes off and makes one move for A.J. Pollock, who had one at bat last year for the Giants and then was gone. Mark Canha, nothing against Mark Canha. He's had his day. He's not a horrible ball player, but is he part of the future? No. Yep. And I don't think he'll be here in September when this team is completely out of the race and they want to bring up somebody else and put somebody else on the 40-man roster like a Hunter Bishop to see what you have in Hunter Bishop. Because Hunter Bishop is going on the 40 after this season is over, or they're going to lose him to the Rule 5 draft. Yeah. So put him on the 40 and bring him up and move off of Mark Canha. Because what is Mark Canha going to do for the Giants not just this year, but in the future? You got guys that need to be – you got to see what you got. You don't know what you have in Marco Luciano. You don't know what you have in Luis Matos. You don't know what you have in Casey Schmidt. You're not playing any of these guys. They're top draft picks. Matos and Luciano were top picks in the international draft or signed. They weren't drafted, so to speak, by a number, but they were signed as very highly regarded prospects. And then Casey Schmidt was your number 2 draft pick, and you said, this guy is the next Matt Chapman defensively, and he can pick it. He's a Gold Glove caliber third baseman, and he's going to be – and you spent a number 2 pick on him, and then what do? You go sign Matt Chapman and block him and don't even let him play third base. And now you've been playing him at short. You've been playing him at second. You play him everywhere but his natural position, and you play him sporadically, you platoon him, and you expect to get like a clear, concise evaluation of this guy when he plays 2-3 days a week at most.
Yeah.
Because he plays against lefties, we all know are 30% of pitchings in the major leagues. It's 70% right-handed pitching. So Casey Schmidt gets to play against the lefties. And Brett Wisely, nothing against Brett Wisely, but Brett Wisely, come on. How many 4A players do we need to see? Brett Wisely is, when I say 4A, I don't mean to be disparaging, but he's better than a AAA player, and he's not that great of a major league player. He's kind of, he's just a quality guy that will serve the back end of your 40-man roster. Okay.
Yeah, let me respond to Mark Graves, if I may. No, Mark, I'm not saying Farhan should keep his job if they're making money. As a, I think you know me better than that. As a fan, as a Giants fan, I want the team to make attempts, at least make efforts, make smart decisions to try to win, to be relevant, to be competitive. That's all I want as a fan. When I say what I just said, it was just from a business point of view from the ownership. If that is their number one goal, and their owner did say that, he didn't talk about winning or let's get a World Series. He said, we just want to be able to break even and possibly make some money. He did say that. So I'm talking from their perspective about, well, if he can't win, at least let him make us some money. And he hasn't done either. He's made poor choices. He's spent some money on some players that were really bad, and that's costing the owners money. So no, he shouldn't keep his job. His job as a general manager, president of baseball operations, is to put together a roster that can be competitive year in and year out. If he can do it for as least money as possible, even better. That's a bonus. That's a real great GM. For now, we'll just take a good GM. Like, just give us a competitive roster that has a chance to win and make better talent evaluations.
Hey, how about I got the perfect GM to maybe turn this franchise around for the Giants. You guys have seen him. He's been on this program before. I don't know if Ned would want to take the job. You know, he hasn't told me anything about that, but I would push for him. I would push Ned for the job. You want to know why? Because Ned knows the Dodgers. Ned knows the Giants. He was with the Giants when Sabian came up. He performed well. They won 8 straight times when they took over. Ned Colletti and Brian Sabian took over the team in 97 from a losing team in the 96 season, and they turned the franchise around day one, and they won 8 straight years. In fact, if today's playoff format was in place back in 97 through 04, the Giants would have been in the playoffs 8 straight years. Ned then moved on to L.A., I think, in the 05 season. You want to know what he did in L.A.? He took over a struggling franchise, okay? L.A. was not the L.A. Dodgers they are today in 2005. They were kind of mid-level. Let's take a look at some of the players that Ned Colletti drafted under his regime. Hall of Fame level players were drafted. Clayton Kershaw, Corey Seager, Kenley Jansen. They changed his position from catcher to reliever. How smart was that? Justin Turner was signed. Cody Bellinger, Jock Peterson. All these guys are still playing. They're all still playing, guys.
Yeah.
How about he signed free agent Real, the pitcher. Remember the lefty? Real?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
He was a Cy Young runner-up. How about Zach Greinke? Signing Zach Greinke, Cy Young runner-up.
A lot of choices.
How about players who won 3 Cy Youngs, three runners-up, 2 MVP award winners, 2 National League Rookies of the Year, 2 National League Championship Series MVPs, 2 World Series MVPs. And they were, and he did it with payrolls between 8th and 15th highest in the league. He didn't have the highest payroll back then. The Dodgers under Ned Colletti and the current regime, you know how many games over 500 they are in the last 25 years? I looked it up. They're 432 games over 500 in the last 25 years.
That's powerful. That's very powerful.
Or actually, excuse me, I looked that up wrong. That's Ned's career. No, yeah. I'm sorry, that was Ned. Ned, that includes Ned's years with the Giants and with the Dodgers. 432 games over 500 with the Dodgers in his last 10 years with the Giants. Let me say that again. 432 games over 500, Ned Colletti, and he's available. I don't know if he would take the job, but the Giants should be calling him, period. He knows the Giants. He's a marketable person. He knows how to market. He's first class personified. He's with the Sharks. He's a scout with the Sharks. He knows the Bay Area. He would turn this franchise around overnight. He would train the right people. Ned's he's like a professor. He's a teacher. He's a leader. The Giants are leaderless right now. The Giants franchise is floundering under Farhan. It has no hope of any kind of trajectory. There is just nothing happening. People across baseball are constantly taking shots at the Giants. I see Dan O'Dowd on MLB Network. He's like, what is the plan what the Giants are doing during the trade deadline? And the people on the set, you see him chuckle. We hear ex-players ripping this whole constant platoon system, and not analytics in particular, but the 100% reliance on analytics. And Mark Graves makes a great point here. If Ned was around, you would get the fans jazzed about baseball again.
Oh, absolutely.
Ned would be what does this one say, Jesus? Well, we don't know that. We don't know what's going on, Jesus, if they would have hired him. We don't know. We don't know what that ownership group is thinking. But I'll tell you what, one man in there would want him, and that's Buster Posey, because Buster played the game and he knows the game, and he would definitely want a Ned Colletti in there. Look, think about this. It's a perfect time to bring in Ned Colletti, because what Ned could do is oversee the entire operations, and because he's a leader and a teacher, he could train the next president of baseball operations under him. And now you've got somebody in the wings. You just need Ned Colletti here for a few years to straighten the mess out, turn the franchise around, and make him and train the next guy.
Yeah. I'll just leave it like this. We'll end the show on this note. If you look upon the grand landscape of sports, every sport, there's such a short leash for managers and general managers when they don't do their job. I mean, really, there's so many organizations that after 1 year, sometimes not even a whole year, they just see it. They just see it. It's so black and white, like visible, that like you're not going to work. Your philosophy is not going to work. Your vision is not going to work. And they immediately cut bait. And for this guy to have the job that he's had as long as he had is mind blowing, that ownership cannot see this. I mean, this is not just a half a season thing. This has just been going on for a very long time. So yes, among the whole country and the landscape of how the nation sees the Giants, it is a laughing stock. Trust me, I have traveled recently. I was just at Wrigley Field and talked to a lot of Cubs fans there in our section, and they don't think very highly of the Giants at all as far as an organization. They respected what they've done in the past, but now, not at all. And those are knowledgeable baseball fans. Midwest and East Coast are very, very good, knowledgeable baseball fans. There's not many casuals out there like there is in San Francisco right now. So,
well, you know what? And we'll finish with this. We just watched last Saturday, Los, the 2014, the 10-year anniversary of the 2014 team. Who was there on the field? Brian Sabean.
And Brian Sabean.
And all the cast. The only one, that wasn't there in person that we know of was, Bruce Bochy. But he gave a great speech that was, broadcast and shown over the scoreboard. And, that team was led. It had the Hall of Fame, Brian Sabean, and Bruce Bochy be in the Hall of Fame. Brian Sabean, at the time, was recognized as one of the top 2 to 3 executives, maybe the top executive in the game, period, in 2014. Okay, he was at the top. He won 3 World Series in 5 years. And then he had the best manager in the game in Bruce Bochy. You had real baseball people with great leadership skills running the entire organization. And look what has become of the Giants. This is year 6. It looks like the 5th of 6 years that the Giants will have a 500 record or losing record. They had one good year under Farhan in 21, and that was an aberration. And you had career type years from Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt, and then you had another great year by Buster Posey that led that team. All those guys, gone now, and look what the Giants are. We don't even know, there's not much hope. But I will just say this, that it is time, people, to get Farhan removed. And I don't know who the Giants bring in. My vote would be Ned Colletti, because he knows the Giants, he knows the Dodgers, and he's passionate. He loves the Giants franchise. He loves the Dodgers. But he'd be loyal. If you hired him as a Giant, he'd be a Giant, and he would be competitive to take down the Dodgers. And that's what the Giants need. Guys, we'll be back tonight. Well, actually, I'll be back in just over an hour. I forgot. Giants are playing today. Giants pregame show today, 12:15. And then after the game today, we'll be back as a post-game show, but it'll be in the evening at 8 o'clock. So catch us for the Giants pregame show at 12:15. I'll make my prediction, what I see happening today. Thanks for joining, everybody. Los, have a great day. Everybody else out there, have a great one as well. We'll see you at 12:15. Have a great one.